Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this town?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
Sure enough.
Shogun of Harlem.
Not the intro clip I was expecting you to do. That one works too. Hey everyone, and welcome to Validate Me, which is a podcast where me and my dad show each other media that we like to consume, and then we talk about it in hopes that the other person will like it on our podcast.
Yeah,
That's
right.
a different intro than I normally... I said something wrong and it screwed me up the whole time.
No, all good.
Yeah, today we're talking about The Last Dragon.
We are
which
Barry
is-
Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
The full title.
Barry Gordy is The Last Dragon.
Do you know who Barry Gordy is?
Nope.
So do you know what Motown is? Motown Records?
I know Motown. There's a song on Epidemic Sound entitled Motown.
Yeah. So Motown was like a record label, sort of.
Okay, I thought it was a genre.
It is kind of its own genre too, almost, right? It's like a very famous R&B record label that had a lot of really famous and amazing musicians on it. And Barry Gordy founded Motown Records.
Oh, okay.
So he's been a record producer for a really long time and done a lot of really amazing things, right? And so he produced this film. He did some other movies too, actually, but this is my favorite of Barry Gordy's movies. And I think that guy that we just heard, Show Enough, I think he's one of the best like movie villains of all time. Like I really love that
He's
guy.
cool.
So we're doing The Last Dragon, and this is another one of the movies that I just absolutely loved when I was a kid, and maybe about your age. And we were at the Overwatch League, and we were hanging out in the press room, and one of the press coordinators there just randomly made a reference.
Yeah, it was, I'm pretty sure at least the person... I don't remember who it was because I didn't understand the reference. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure it was one of the guys that works on Blitz Esports Overwatch, which is a really good channel.
Oh, no, it was Gordon.
It was Gordon? Oh,
Yeah,
it was?
yeah.
I think a couple people were talking about it at one point.
Yeah, so he just
It's
randomly
like,
dropped it. I was like, was that a Last Dragon reference? And then he and I started just trading Last Dragon references.
I was so confused.
And so I knew I had to make this the new podcast thing, right? This was what I was gonna do something else, and we were gonna go a different direction, and we'll get back on track with that my next time around. But yeah, I knew the Last Dragon. We're doing The Last Dragon. So we watched it a few days ago, and then each of us rewatched it on our own, like we normally do.
Yep.
And took some notes. And so let's do some overall, and then we'll kind of talk through the movie plot wise.
So my main overall thoughts, I have a couple. And the first one is like, this is just a good, fun action movie, and that's not something you see very often anymore. Like, it's tragic and a lot of people die, and it's really sad now.
Right.
But it's just a good, fun action movie.
It's a very popcorny kind of flick.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. It's like
but it
fun.
has like a great. It's got a great soundtrack because Barry Gordy did it. It's got a lot of really awesome music. It's got a extremely diverse cast, obviously.
Right. One of my other notes is like, this is so much more diverse than a lot of movies now.
Right? No, there's no doubt. There's a lot of diversity in the cast, and there's a lot of like mixed race people in the cast that I thought was really interesting. And then there's a lot of diversity, which I think is really funny. Or not funny. I don't know why I would say that. That's funny, but I think it's a really good thing. Like it was, and I loved it. Like as a kid, I thought it was representation in a way that, like you said, you didn't see in everything that you did, right? Because Barry Gordy put it out. Okay, go ahead.
So it's a really fun. Happy, positive movie, which is like you never see anymore. So I'm glad that it was that. It does have a really good tunes.
It does have good tunes.
It's got good tunes. And yeah, my other note is like it's just so much more diverse than a lot of movies that are coming out now. Yep. Which is kind of sad, but also it's just a really cool, and it's got a really good diverse cast.
It does. And like it's an interesting thing. And this is something I was definitely going to talk to you about too as part of this conversation. Is like how much of it you felt in your Minecrafter generation sensibilities.
Stop saying that.
What does a Minecrafter think about the like cultural appropriation potential criticism of this movie?
Oh, yeah.
Like I never thought about it in those terms. Certainly when I was watching it as a kid, and watching it now, it just I was like, oh, I wonder if Presley is going to think that this is offensive because of cultural appropriation.
Okay, well, I don't think like doing a martial art counts. I think that this movie was inspired, at least from what I could tell, and I'm not an expert. I obviously am not part of any of these cultures.
No, So I was at the. So this is worth saying. This is a really good point. So at the time, I was also watching all the Bruce Lee movies. I watched Kung Fu on TV, which is one of my favorite TV shows. I watched a lot of like wire fu movies, like Chinese, like Kung Fu stuff. So I was a big fan of the genre as well. And this is like, I think it walks this amazing line between like a respectful homage to those kinds of things and parody of those kinds of things.
That's what I was going to say.
And like it's really difficult to do. Like it's parodying it without being disrespectful to it, which I think is a really amazing thing, actually.
Right. And I think it's like inspired by instead of taken from.
Yeah.
Which is two different things. I can tell the line. Like where inspired by and taken from fall. I think that
it was respectfully done.
Yes, I think it was respectfully done. Yeah. But I do really like, and I don't know if this is intentional at all, but it seemed to me from this watch, and now that you bring it up, and now that I'm thinking about it, that the villain was sort of taking all of these things and making this culture his, while it seemed like our main character was much more respectful with the way he used it. And that might not have been done on purpose at all. But I do, now that I think about it, get that vibe.
Oh, that's interesting. From like a cultural standpoint.
Yeah.
Like it was definitely, there's also this thing, I guess you could say that like Ty Mack, who's the main actor, right? Leroy. Leroy Green, or Bruce Leroy. I'll refer to him for the rest of the podcast.
Okay.
So Bruce Leroy, he was more pure, I think, in his adaptation of the cultural and the martial arts and things like that, whereas Shonuff was more a mixture of like the New York inner city culture with the martial arts culture,
right? Which
at the
I
same time,
like,
which is kind of cool.
Of that,
Definitely, you could do a film analysis in the terms of like racial, cultural integration and things like that.
Analyzing it right now, where it did seem like, okay, I'm just going to warn you, by the way, up front, that my brain really, really wants to call the Shogun Hokage, and I definitely have not seen Naruto anytime recently. That's definitely not what it's called.
I think Shonuff would approve of being called the Hokage.
I'm sorry. I was having a conversation about Naruto earlier.
That would be really funny.
Okay, so, but yeah, it did seem a little more like the way that he was portrayed. Was he was taking this culture and making him, and making a slave of it, I guess. Like not.
Right. He was using it for his purposes, rather than sort of where you get Bruce Leroy was sort of using himself, giving himself to the art, rather than taking the arts to do something for him.
Which is how you should go about like respecting. You can respect a culture, but you can also take from it. Man,
this went a direction I didn't expect this podcast to start off with.
Okay, but there's this quote which I was rereading. I just want to call it Love, Simon So Bad. Carry On, which is a very good book.
Rainbow Row.
Carry On, Simon Snow, yes. And one of the quotes that really stood out to me is like, magic, and using magic as a metaphor for this at least, is like, you can work, magic is its own thing, and you can work alongside it, but you can't make it it yours. You can learn to work together.
It's more than just a tool.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like the Shogun was using it as a tool to reach supremacy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that
was a cool metaphor, which I didn't think about.
Yeah, no, so it's interesting because this goes to a thing that like Mommy and I talk about a lot, I think, right? Because Mommy's a little bit of a film snob, or a lot of a film snob, right? And I'm more of like all comers. Like I watch just about anything. There are very few movies that I would say I really just absolutely flat out don't like that movie.
I don't know.
And part of it is like I look for like redeeming qualities in every movie. And even if it's just in my head, like this conversation that we just had may not have been something that Barry Gordy and the director and the people that were working on this film sort of intentionally mapped out and had in mind about how like cultural appropriation and versus like affection, like pure affection for a culture. how that plays out. But you can watch the movie and like think about those kinds of things and kind of put that in. And this movie has redeeming qualities to come out of that. I think that this movie is an excellent example. I was showing Mama yesterday too because I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes, which is, you know, they aggregate like reviewer reviews of a movie, and then they also have like people you can just go kind of rate a movie yourself, right? And so the critics rating for The Last Dragon is 50%.
Really?
Yeah. Right. Solid 50-50. Huh. Whereas the individual normal human being rating is 85% positive. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what this movie is. Like, critics would hate it because it is, frankly, in almost every measurable way, a bad movie.
Okay, true. But it's a good, fun movie.
And, like, I am saying this as a true fan of this movie who has watched it many, many, many times and will watch it again a few more times now that I've just got it in my system to watch again. I love this movie, but it's a bad movie. Like, it's in measurables.
Immeasurable. Like,
the acting is pretty rough. The script is pretty rough. The directing is pretty rough in a lot of places. The soundtrack's actually pretty good.
The soundtrack's really
good. But like lots of things that you would just measure this as, if you looked at it, it's bad. But like something happens, and this is the beauty of film, right? Something kind of magical happens, and even with all of these bad components, you put all these bad ingredients in the pot, and you still make a delicious stew.
Stew, of course. Thank you for that wonderful note.
I don't know how that happens, but you can put a bunch of rotten ingredients in a pot and you get a delicious stew. And this is an example of this movie is a delicious stew that is made up of really disgusting ingredients. Not disgusting. I wouldn't go that far, right? But clearly, Ty-Mac, Bruce Leroy, he was cast more for his martial arts abilities than he was, because he's a true martial artist, right? And so he was cast more for those capabilities than for his acting abilities. He had never acted before. He basically learned to act on the set of this film. Although, like, Barry Gordy kind of said he had like an innocence to him that he thought that the character needed to portray, and he certainly had that in certain cases, right? Yeah. And then you had Vanity, who was more of a singer than she was an actress. And because this is a kung fu musical, which I never even thought about that, but there's a lot of music in this movie.
There's a lot of music.
And so the kung fu musical, you've got Vanity, who sings and she does a song, and she's got a song on the soundtrack, and there's a lot going on with her. And even though I thought she was actually one of the better actors in the film, she was cast, I think, largely because of her relationships to Motown, to Barry Gordy and these guys, and her ability to sing. I think you saw a lot of people who were in there for martial arts ability, for other things other than acting. But yeah, somehow it all came together. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's get back to track on your high level thoughts.
On my high level thought. Okay. So, high level thoughts. I guess I liked this movie, but like I have one nitpick, and that is that there were a couple threads that I didn't really get to see wrapped up.
Okay.
So, first of all, I am very concerned at what happened to the pizza place.
Yeah, well, insurance paid off and they cleaned it up, and
I didn't hear that.
Everybody directed their pizza to Daddy Green's Pizza,
right?
Remodeled.
In an action film like this, I would expect at the end to see like the main character and there's like a new location of the pizza place, and it's all clean and there's a bunch of people in it.
Yeah,
and
okay.
It's like yay.
So I didn't
get to see
other
that.
Loose threads.
Other loose threads is that
the big one?
Yeah. No, that was not the big one. That one is just a very tiny thing, and I was concerned about the pizza.
That would have been nice to see
because I love pizza.
Yeah. And I like his dad a lot.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Daddy Green.
Yes.
Yeah. And his mom, like, throwing the dough at the guys when I loved them. They were really funny.
Yes. I would have liked to see what happened to Angela after she left. Like, what?
Oh, sure.
Because she just walked out. Yeah, and I was expecting... Sequel. Right. We need a sequel. I was expecting to see her, like, do something.
Yeah.
But she
I saw, too, that she was loosely based on Cyndi Lauper, which I thought was kind of funny.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, I know you don't, but I'm throwing out that there for the people who are listening who actually know who Cyndi Lauper is.
I know. Yeah. But, yeah, I liked her character, and I thought her arc was really, really interesting.
You notice I'm pretending there are people listening.
I'm just talking to you now. But, yeah, I thought her arc was really interesting from a standpoint of someone who has talked to people and knows people who have gone through similar things. Uh-huh. And so I would have liked to see her do something else. something. I don't know, something.
When you say similar things.
Well,
like how
not that.
how much of this
Not
is
like
similar
that.
to what they went
Okay.
through.
Well, no, it's not. Yeah, they had a. Also, one of my notes, which is really random, but there's the tank with. I also didn't get to see what was in the tank. I didn't get to see what it was in it.
You were not supposed to see what was in the tank.
I didn't, and I was mad about it.
It was hairy, though. Like, that's what always kind of threw me off about it. That one time it kind of surfaces a little bit, you see that it's got hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, my first thought when I saw that was The Shape of Water 2017.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, the tank. Like, there were a lot of, like, MacGuffin-ish things in here.
no one used the tank. I
So,
wanted to
like,
throw that guy in the tank.
The belt buckle was sort of a MacGuffin, right? It was a thing that didn't have meaning in and of itself, but it drove the plot forward.
Yeah, I liked that.
But then they totally acknowledged that it was just a MacGuffin, and his master is like, you needed a charm. And so, and like, it did this whole hero's journey. You know how much I love the hero's journey, right?
Yes.
And it sort of told the story of the hero's journey. And again, like in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, just sort of said, oh, well, hey, you needed a charm to be able to move forward in your journey. And
So
you had to find a teacher, and you had like, it's a very hero's journey, but it's kind of mapping out and talking about the hero's journey while it's doing the hero's journey.
I really
which I thought was good.
did like that. So, first of all, we have a meet cute, which is
There was a meet cute. I actually have meet cute in my notes.
Really?
I do.
There's a meet cute.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
There's this meet cute where it was a whole fiasco. But during the meet cute, oh God, I want to call her Janet because she really reminds me of someone of Janet Mock, who is a person that I
Laura, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laura really reminds me of Janet Mock.
Okay.
Laura, she picks up the belt buckle.
Yeah.
She picks it up.
We don't know it's a belt buckle at the time, but we're just going to call it a belt buckle for the.
Yeah. So she picks it up, and he's like, "No, that's for a specific person. I need that back." But in the end, it sort of was meant for her, in a way. Like she taught him.
Yeah.
Throughout the film, she is a leading teacher.
No, like she absolutely is, in a really interesting way. In like Taoist kind of Winnie the Pooh, bumbling, stumbling kind of way.
I really liked it because she was teaching him to be. I'm going to talk about this now.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
She was teaching him to be less.
Could you teach me some moves?
No, that was loud and scared me very much. She was teaching him to be more laid back, I guess, and less focused and driven towards.
You sure look like a master to me.
But yeah, so she was teaching him to be more. Laid back is not the word I want, but it's the only one that will come to my head. So
yeah, well, I mean, like it was confidence, really, right?
More chill.
Yeah, it was also like be more confident in yourself and believe in yourself and like see in yourself what other people see in you. Is kind of a big message of the movie too.
I guess less driven towards achieving the specific goal from a practice standpoint, and more in through using your skills in practical application, you will get better.
Yeah, and you and I talked about how, like, that line, like, I really love the...
You sure look like a master to me.
That's one of my favorite lines of hers.
Yes.
And so she gives that line in, like, as flirty as it sounds, playing it out of context in the podcast, right? So she's really just kind of flirting with him in the dojo when she's trying to hire him as a bodyguard because she needs...
Like someone to guard my body.
And that is my favorite line of hers. That is
That's a
absolutely
good
my
line.
favorite line of hers. And her delivery of that is super, super funny.
Someone to guard my body.
Yeah, it's really good. Really
like
good.
that.
Really good.
Valid.
So she's being super flirty and she does that thing. But then in the end, that kind of pays off as being one of the things that makes him realize who he really is and stuff. Like, I think it's really cool that, her like offhanded remark, like she saw something in him that he didn't see in himself, and she mentioned it in a flirty way, but just as an obvious thing, right? She's saying, "Look, it's as obvious to me," and then it comes back and pays off in the end. Like I thought that from a structural storytelling standpoint, I thought that was excellent.
That's really weird thing about it, which is also really valid.
Yeah.
Is that her flirting with him and her compliments are based off of things that he did himself and not his appearance.
Yeah.
Which is something that is good. I really like that because she is complimenting him on his skill in martial arts, which he learned and decided to pursue himself.
Yeah.
Which is a good
that's
thing
cool.
to
I never thought about that, but you're 100% right. Like the stuff that she talks about is about him, not physically, and he's a physical specimen, right? Like, it's not like he's a schlub. He's a good-looking guy, and he's a professional martial artist, so he's got a great body, and he's super fit and awesome. But that's not what she talks about.
Yeah, and I like that. And that is a guide to how to compliment people correctly.
Excellent observation, Presley.
That's my observation.
Super good. All right, so I was going to say, too, like, when I was talking about Ty Mack and his acting, not being super awesome.
But he fits the character in a way.
No, that's part is so good, Presley. You segue me all the time. Like, sometimes when you have these roles and you have people that are really bad actors, I'm not saying he's a really bad actor. I'm just saying
that are not professional.
If you have people that aren't great actors, sometimes you make the character a thing.
Yeah.
That works with that, and so it's almost inexplicable when you really kind of think about it, because he's almost like English is a second language. Like it's almost like he's Chinese or Japanese. It's a little unclear through several parts of the movie, but when he's speaking almost like a non-native speaker, and that kind of explains part of his stilted speech and his performance and stuff like that. But that's sort of inexplicable in his relationship with his family. He grew up in Harlem, and
his entire family speaks English.
Yeah, right. So that doesn't really. But they're making it in a way that you can kind of understand, like when you do Terminator. Schwarzenegger's a robot, and he's kind of a robotic actor, and so it kind of works out, right? It kind of fits him for the part. And sometimes they put Keanu Reeves, who's a famously wooden actor, into
I've had this conversation
parts.
with you before. Leave Keanu Reeves alone.
I love Keanu Reeves, right? I don't have a problem with Keanu Reeves, but they put him in these parts where there's some sort of way to explain his near speech impediment. As in terms of performance. Is stupidity a speech impediment? I'm bagging on Keanu. He doesn't deserve it. He seems like a super nice guy.
He is.
He's gotten a lot better. Like, the new John Wick stuff is fantastic. And John Wick is like a perfect thing for him because he's got like 4 lines. Right?
And he's got to do cool gun stuff.
He doesn't have to speak.
Okay, it's time to talk about...
I don't know why we're talking about Keanu Reeves. But...
No, but okay. I love the John Wick movies. They're so cool. I think about them a lot. Okay, wait, I was going to say some... Oh, yes. Just, I can confirm from several stories that Keanu Reeves is a really, really nice person and also possibly immortal and possibly a fairy.
Nice. Okay.
Cool kid.
All right, hold on. I've got a...
Clip?
Yeah, I'm going to play a clip. This is of his... Oh, here's my... This is one of my favorite bad lines of his.
I would like to see her.
Like, that's pretty rough.
Well,
that's pretty rough, right? I've got another one in here too. I can't remember where it was, but yeah,
enthusiastic.
He's got a, he is very enthusiastic. There are we'll go through clips in a more organized way later. But yeah, I think that giving him that sort of persona also made his acting work a little bit. He's very naive. Yeah. And it sort of, they did a good job of writing that to make it work.
This is good because, okay, right now, culturally, we are in a weird anti-hero. Our main character is the worst phase. Yeah. And I think that's just because a lot of people who are like that are writing stuff right now and getting their stuff made. Right. But we're in like a weird main characters are jerks. We don't like them phase.
Yeah, like anti-hero kind of thing.
Yeah, but like not anti-hero in 3
like flawed hero kind of thing.
Not like a flawed character, and not like this character archetype which I refer to as 3 because I love 3 and it reminds me of a lot.
Sure.
Not like that. Just like the main character is just not a likable person.
Right. Yeah.
He's bad.
They drive the story forward, but they're not good.
Yeah,
good people.
and they're just like it's weird and gross, and having such a like good, naive. Good boy as a main character is something I haven't seen in a very long time, and I'm so happy to see a good boy.
Here's one of his lines from the Meat Cute that I think is also a kind of a rough delivered
from
line.
The Meat Cube.
Yeah.
They did not harm me.
Not awesome.
Well, I like that line. I like it. It's interesting.
And he has like this formal speech that he uses.
Right, but it's more realistic in a way that he's just.
It kind of fits his thing. Right?
Yeah, it fits his thing.
This is the guy that he was fighting that out.
Your mother.
I don't know why I love that so much, but I've always loved that because he's got the knife and he's kind of doing the thing. Cooper thought that was one of his favorite. Cooper was listening to the soundboard yesterday and he thought that was one of his favorite lines.
Oh
too.
boy!
Yeah, he was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
So in the meet cute too, and again, you won't know who this person is, but one of the guys that he fought that was the limo driver that sort of kidnapped her initially is Chaz Palminteri. Who's a really great actor and seems like a really awesome guy, but this was super early part for him. And then there was also this guy.
Laura, there is a point. The point of the knife, which is pointed at this point on my neck. He'll slit my throat if you don't do this for me. Come on, Laura.
Really funny. So that is William H. Macy, who again is a phenomenal actor. Like William H. Macy.
What's that line?
Come in, please.
Sorry.
William H. Macy is like a phenomenal actor and has done some really amazing movies and stuff. And so this was one of his earliest things that he did, and that was a really good line from him. Oh, here's a really good. This is Vanity. This is when she's singing her song. I think this is the Seventh Heaven song. And then there's just a little.
Heaven is a cool name.
There's a little. She says like. Yeah, like when you're kind of singing, she's like, oh, yeah, but this is the yeah. Like, listen to this. Yeah. Like, that's the.
Okay.
I mean, that was like when I was listening back, because some of it, when I was grabbing clips, I was just listening to because you want to see what sounds good and not just because this is definitely a movie where I get so wrapped up in watching the movie, I forget to grab clips. And so I was listening to it, and when that came on, I was like, oh my God, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the movie. Yeah, do you have more like high level stuff?
No, I was gonna say something and I definitely forgot what it was.
Keeping real quick, and then we'll tie into a little bit more narrative structure of the film.
Let's go.
So we won't do the whole segue and stuff. But if folks want to reach out and drop us an email or something like that, how do they do that?
They should email us at validatemepodcast@gmail.com or at validatemecast on Twitter.
Yeah, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just obviously respond in the comments.
Yes.
Yeah. And
please
we'll
email
pull
us.
those.
That's our preferred thing.
Yeah, we like emails.
We read emails on the podcast.
Emails are fun. We should be reading comments from the YouTube channel too, and we haven't been doing that. But we will correct that next time. We'll pull the comments. We read them. We totally read everything and we respond to a bunch of stuff, but we haven't been pulling them for the podcast. But we will totally start doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the best thing is validatemepodcast@gmail.com is a great email to reach us, or validate me cast, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Validate
Mecast on Twitter is a good way to go too.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the early stuff. We're gonna go through the movie in a little bit of a narrative structure.
All right.
And talk about
You've got your narrative.
Yeah. So in the beginning, when it's got him doing the workout thing, like the opening credits, I thought were really great. I always loved those.
That was cool.
When I was a kid.
I liked that.
They shoot like through the glass floor. A couple of shots, you can see him from below. I always loved those. I thought those were really interesting. When he breaks the arrow.
Yeah.
Like as it's flying by.
Cool.
Really did that.
Really?
Yeah, Timac really did that. I think
so cool.
it took them like 4 hours or something to get that one shot.
But he did it and it was really
Because it's also kind of blind. Like if you watch it, like he's punching this way and the arrow comes behind him and he has to kind of turn and catch it with almost like a blind kind of chop. But he really karate chopped an arrow in half as it flew by.
I have a bit about this part.
Yeah. I wonder if that was in the audition.
Yeah, I wonder.
Can you break this? We're going to shoot arrows at you, and if you can catch one, then
that seems fatal. Don't do that.
Part.
That's a bad idea.
You're
if you survive, you get the part.
Yeah, if you survive, you get a call back. Right, yeah.
If you break it, you get a part. Okay,
yeah.
So my thing about this, which is makes complete sense in a narrative standpoint, worked fine in the film, but bugs me from the realistic standpoint, is that he catches the blue arrow. And
he did.
And without knowing that he should catch the blue arrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, everyone's like...
Well, he knew he should catch the blue arrow, but he didn't know which one was the blue arrow. Yeah.
And so it was like this big deal, like he knew without knowing.
That's right.
But I feel like you should maybe test that one more time.
Yeah,
just in case.
Yeah, there's an element to that, and so you have to give some piece of his master's like mysticism that lets him know that he did it assertively and correctly, like knowing it was the right choice without. Yeah. I assume he had given other indications that it was probably
okay. Yeah. It wasn't just you did this one.
We were talking about Keanu, right? So the Matrix, the red pill, blue pill thing, like because there were red arrows and blue arrows.
Oh yeah.
And so he chose the blue arrow, like taking the blue pill. Kind of, it was. There's a weird little analogy there that I don't know how far that goes, but I just thought it was interesting that they used those.
Actually, they used red and blue as a metaphor for clans.
Yeah, right.
So. Check
And so,
yourself before you wreck
all right, so he
yourself.
goes to the movie theater after he does all this training stuff, and his master kind of gives him the really funny,
What you seek is not written on the floor.
like, that's funny.
Yeah, I
because he's
like
like the
that.
supplicant, and he's bowing down, and he thinks and his master is, again, like making fun of kung fu movies. He's like, oh, you've been to the movies again, I see. Like, you're falling to the floor and begging for forgiveness at
Yeah.
the slightest hint of your master's displeasure. Like, they're kind of riffing on the
I thought that
same
was a good
kind of
scene.
movie that they're making. And when you're talking about loose threads, like, I wish his master had come back at some point in the end. Like,
Yeah.
we had seen his master see him achieve the glow. I think that would have been like a
I
cool
want to
thing that
see
I would
that.
like to have seen. But yeah, I liked his master a lot. I thought that character was
Yeah.
really great, and he was super funny, and he was good. So they go to the movie theater and they watch Enter the Dragon. So you're going to have to watch some Bruce Lee movies now that you've seen this, because it's good for you
Yeah.
to see some of the reference movies.
I saw a little bit of them in
And Enter the
Seattle.
Dragon is a great one to watch, right? And this you got this the crowd speak. It's one of the most famous lines
Yeah.
from the movie, and so everybody knows it, and everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are movie theaters ever that loud? Why are they talking?
All right. So this is a stereotype that they're playing off of. That if you go to a movie theater in a predominantly black neighborhood, that people are going to be yelling at the screen and talking throughout the movie.
That literally never happens.
Yeah.
Like, if anything weird happens in a movie theater, like, I have been to movie theaters where, like, I have been to a movie
so
theater where everyone thought the
you-
movie theater was on fire, and everyone just sort of looked at each other. And was like,
You and I go to pretty upscale movie theaters.
no, I have been to, well, listen,
No, you
I've also been to a movie theater.
No, you
When
don't
anything
even
happens
start.
in a movie
Don't
theater,
even
no
start.
one does anything.
You have no idea.
No
You have
one
no
cares,
idea.
and it really bugs me.
Your
Do people
life
talk
of
in movie
privilege
theaters? Okay.
has led
Do
you to
people talk in
believe
movie theaters?
that, like, electric recliner assigned seating
Shut
is
No, I've
the
been when I
norm.
see movies with my friends stuff and
Yeah, so number one, like I said,
one
number one,
cares.
it is a stereotype that they're playing off
Does it
of.
ever happen?
It does actually happen.
Really?
There are
Why?
movie theaters where there's especially, so this is interesting too, because stereotypically and also somewhat true in my experience, people that I've known and people I hung out with in Memphis and stuff, like horror movies is a big thing, like
been to
as an event in a predominantly African American movie theater, and people are like yelling, "Don't go in that room."
Oh well,
right?
I do that in my head all the time.
I've experienced that, and kung fu is a big thing too, right? And
I can see
kung fu
that.
movies and stuff like that.
That
they're a
I
big thing.
understand because it's like a sports match.
But like there are, and not so much anymore. Like it's not the same culture. This was '85, right? And so, but at that time, like there were certainly movie theaters that you could go to where it was expected to be like you're at Rocky Horror Picture Show, and everybody is participating in the performance of the film as you
Okay,
watch
but,
the
you're
movie. And those happened predominantly in African American communities, in my experience. But it's just it's been a stereotype. If you watch, like when we were doing the John Mulaney stuff, right? If you go watch a lot of the comedians that I was referencing that I really love to watch, the Chris Rocks and the whoever, Eddie Murphy, at some point in their bits, I guarantee you they have long routines about African American movie theaters behavior.
Do they?
Yeah. I
Really?
promise they
Is
do.
that a
Yeah.
thing?
It's a thing.
You're watching a movie. Shut up.
No, I'm telling you, it's a
Be
thing.
quiet.
So the group busting in with a boombox and
See, that
starting
doesn't happen.
that part was a little over the top, right?
Right.
But I did love the guy that like stomped on the stereo.
Yeah,
And it was like in sync with Bruce Lee's moves on the screen, like he was doing exactly the same thing that Bruce Lee was doing to Ohara when he was stomping on his head.
That was cool. I like that.
That was
would
super,
be
super
me
cool.
if
Yeah.
anyone did anything.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
annoying.
And then, like, you know, Shonough's ability to come in and stop the film and take his seat was pretty impressive.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty good. And then, so you've got the other thing that was super funny was the Mr. Exposition. This was Beast or Crunch. I can't remember. He like his guys had
Beast
Beast
or
and Crunch and Cyclone or something
Crunch
like that
is
was the
the
other guy.
worst nickname.
But one of them delivered this gem of exposition.
That's the only guy that stands between show and total supremacy.
Right. And so you got
Like, just say that. Of course.
yeah, but it's like saying it to like one of the other gang members who like clearly knows what's going. Like he's not saying it to some rando like new recruit who has no idea what's happening. Like whenever someone says something like that to someone else who obviously should already know that information,
Someone should just be like, I know that.
Like, yeah, I know. What are you talking about? Yeah, why are you telling me that?
Turns to the camera and winks.
They don't know. Yeah, right. So I think that was a really funny little piece of exposition.
There's this I've seen that somewhere and I don't remember where, but it was like, well, I know that. Why are you saying that to me? And then everyone turns to the camera and just like, wink.
And then you get one of my I could almost have put all of Shownuff's lines on the soundboard because I think I need just a Shownuff soundboard. But I liked this one.
See? Now it is mumbo jumbo like that.
That's crunch.
Skinny little lizards like you thinking they the last dragon that gives Kung Fu a bad name.
Man, I love that guy.
Yeah, lizards are cool, okay?
Yeah, well, it was also kind of funny. Like, listening to all of these, I kept thinking I was going to have to not grab one of Shownuff's clips because it was going to have some profanity in it that I didn't want to use in a sound clip. But he almost never used profanity. Like, skinny little lizards is what he said. And, like, even in my head, like, when I thought about that, knowing the dialogue for this film, like, I was thinking, oh, he calls him a skinny little something that I can't put on the air, right? Yeah, because the way he says it is like he's using profanity, but he's not actually using profanity. Lizard. Yeah, so I thought that was a super good one.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, here's my thought, which I forgot to say.
Yep.
I think that Wayne should cosplay Shownuff. That's my thought.
Oh, that would be pretty good. Thought. All right, I'll send Wayne a message and let him know. That would be really funny.
I really like giving Wayne cosplay ideas.
That would be really funny.
I was thinking about that the whole time I was watching this movie.
All right, so he does that, and then he ends up like basically saving Laura. She does her big dance number. Yeah. And then he sort of accidentally runs into her and saves her from Chaz Palminteri. Which is kind of funny. And he gets the Yo Mother guy, which I thought was really great. And then when Laura Charles doesn't get kidnapped and comes back, we get another one of Cooper's favorite lines when when Angie's crying.
Now, we don't want our star to look like a little pig peed in her eyes now, do we?
Like, why would you ever say that? What? That's not comforting.
And I totally didn't remember that. Like, I don't know if that was something that I didn't understand it. Yeah. Like, I didn't catch it. But I watched this movie so many times that I don't remember him saying, you don't want to look like a little pig peed in your eye.
It's so weird. Like, it's so weird that it's not comforting. It does not...
Oh, no, he's not trying to comfort her.
It's not threatening.
Yeah.
But it's also not... It's like, I guess, almost perplexing enough that you have to stop crying and think about what was just said to you.
Maybe that's what he was doing. He was just trying to confuse her so much that she
stopped crying.
And then he delivered this gem, which I think is a really great Eddie Arcadian line.
Don't bug me. Fix your face.
That was so loud.
I know, that's so good.
Don't bug me. Fix your face.
But it's also like silent behind it, like it's almost looped back in. But the fix your face is something brilliant. And so that led me to Big Trouble in Little China.
Which I haven't seen.
You've seen parts of.
Have
it's one of my favorite movies. Another one of my favorite movies.
We have a Funko.
I've got a lot of favorite movies. But so there's a character in that's played by Kim Cattrall, and she is sort of, I don't know. This is a really hard scene to sort of set up, but like they go back to this room. They have an adventure, and then they go back to the house, and then she's like, "Oh, I have to go fix my face." And excuses herself to the bathroom, right? Because that's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
For I got to go do my makeup and I look like a mess, right? And in some ways, it's kind of fishing for a compliment too. Kind of like, hey, I look terrible. I got to go fix my face and go. You're kind of like hoping somebody goes, oh no, you look fantastic. What are you talking about? You look great, right? And so she says, I got to go fix my face, and then they're planning to go on further adventures, basically.
Woo, adventures.
And so when they're planning to go, she's kind of like, well, I would go with you. And then this is the response that they get from that. Hold on, let me go right here.
I go with you, but...
I know, there's a problem with your face.
This is one of my favorite lines ever.
That's like so unbelievably sexist, but also me.
But she said it. Like, she said, I have to go fix my face. Like, it's not like he made that up, right?
No.
So
just like from a character standpoint.
Like, she totally opened the door and said, I got to go fix my face. And then she's like, well, I would go with you. And he's like, yeah, I know there's a problem with your face. Like, that's so good.
That's like
so good.
Relatable. I have legitimately done stuff like that. Like, I've said to someone, like, I was in writing class and someone wrote this really, really sad thing. And I was like, I would be crying right now, but I'm wearing mascara, so I'm not going to.
So listen to this delivery from him.
I go with you, but
I know there's a problem with your face.
That's good.
That's so
it's
flat
Kurt
and
Russell.
mean. So mean.
It's so good. But like, compared to...
Don't bug me. Fix your face.
Like, he was a little more like sly about it, right? Like, oh, I understand why you can't go. There's a problem with your face. That's
so
pretty
mean.
good. Pretty good. All right. So, and then I've got one when they break in to the studio. So Show Enough like goes to the studio and they do the studio challenge, which was a big thing. Like, this happened to like the Gracies, right?
Really?
There's like famous stories of people like busting into their academy in Brazil. Yeah, and being like, hey, I want to fight whoever's here. And then the Gracies would just mop the mats with them.
Nice.
Like, yeah. And Bruce Lee dealt with it a lot. Like, there are a lot of urban legends. Some of them are urban legends, and some of them really happened, I think, where people, even like on the set of his films, would challenge him to fights,
Fight me
right?
right
Yeah,
now.
like he ended up doing a lot of that stuff. And there used to be more of it, but like in like martial arts circles, there's like academy challenges.
Now that I know this is a thing,
Yeah.
whenever I say fight me, I don't mean fight me actually.
Yeah,
Please
right.
don't.
No, this is totally a thing, right?
Please don't actually. I'm not
That's where
challenging
that comes
you
from.
to a duel.
Yeah. So so when they kick in and they're all like making fun of hey, I heard this is a place where you teach martial arts.
Funny.
Can you teach me? I thought we'd get some lessons. And so one of the girls says this.
How many yen?
How many yen for a lesson?
What?
Like, what is that? That is like the strangest like, background comment to come out of the taunts. Because there were all these other things that were going on in the background. And like, I heard it. And again, I was listening in my headphones, just listening to it. I was like, did she just say how many yen for a lesson? And again, this is like the Chinese, Japanese, like obscuring of the cultural things that are happening. But yeah, I just thought it was super funny that how many yen was her big thing. And then you get another great Show Enough line.
Kiss my Converse.
That totally sticks with you as one of the things you remember out of the films when he does like the snap and point down. And
It's like my finger gun thing.
Yeah.
But you point downwards.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, that was cool. I really like that. I like that good scene. What's the boy? What is his name?
Richie?
Maybe.
No, you mean the little guy? The little karate guy or his little brother?
Yeah, but the older guy, is he little? Is he short specifically? I thought he was just younger.
Who?
The one who was really confused the whole time. The mood.
Okay.
He's so confused the whole time.
That doesn't tell me who you're talking about.
He was the guy with the brother at the end. The little brother.
The guy with
the little brother. The little brother.
Bruce Leroy's little brother.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
The guy with the little brother at the end that brought all the students into the thing.
Oh, Johnny.
Yes.
Okay, that's not a little guy.
You said little guy, and I was like, what do you mean?
I thought you started with little guy.
No, I said.
Yeah, no, I thought Johnny was one of the better actors too. I thought he was super funny. He was obviously
good. I
part of
liked
the
him a lot.
big part of the comic relief, along with Richie, who was the little brother. Nice. Johnny Yu, right?
He was good. I was saying this was
because
his first scene.
you get.
Hi, Johnny. It's nice to meet you.
See, I love that little pun.
Funny.
He's like, "Hey, I'm Johnny Yu," and then she says it's not. And the way she says it, she's clearly making it a pun. Listen to how she says "you."
Hi, Johnny. It's nice to meet you.
See, she's clearly playing off of the Johnny Yu.
Yeah, I like that.
I thought he was really good, and I looked at his
good.
IMDb, and he didn't have a ton of credits
Really?
after and stuff. Yeah, I thought he might go on to do bigger things, but he
Yeah, 'cause
did
I
not.
really liked-
I thought he was super funny.
He was good in this movie. And anyways, the reason I mentioned him was because that was the first time we saw him. And he was just like really confused the entire time. And so I thought he was like relatable.
Well, he had that great line too, where he was like, when you take martial arts, they try and teach you to master the art of fighting without ever fighting. Like you
Yeah.
never actually want to use your art. And he said, I've done one better. I've learned to master the art of fighting without actually knowing how to fight. Which I
Right?
think it's really funny. Like
Me,
like again, you're
right?
playing on these like tropes. I thought that was super good of him to kind of dig into. You get them, they go back to the house.
Just direct your pizza to Daddy Green's Pizza.
That was one of the things you said.
Watch yourself, son.
Who said ha?
Because, you know, you've got that thing where, like, obviously the dad says that over and over again.
Yeah.
And so Richie says it along with him and almost gets in trouble for doing so. Yeah. Yeah. And that was definitely one of the lines I used at the Overwatch thing, right?
Yeah.
Direct your pizza to Daddy Green's Pizza.
I was, like, thinking... I remembered that from the thing.
Oh, from the Overwatch thing?
Yes, just because it was so perplexing that you're talking about this action movie and that was a line that stood out to you. So I remembered it because I was like, oh.
Well, now you see why. Because that delivery was really solid. Like, that was a really funny thing.
But yeah, that was a weird thing. For me, when I was first hearing it, I was like, that's a weird thing to stand out of an action movie, like a random pizza slogan.
Here's one from when he saves Laura for the second time. When they actually kidnap her and he breaks in his ninja outfit. Yeah, it literally kicks in the door and goes after people.
What is up, my dude?
I really liked when he did this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss...
Angela Verocco.
But like he's fighting everybody and he turns and does like this side kick and then stops before he hits her. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I almost kicked a woman, right? Oh. So again, you're like playing on this whole chivalrous thing of not hitting a woman and stuff. And he apologizes like mid storming the castle and saving the damsel in distress. He stops and apologizes to her.
And
everyone is nice enough to stop fighting him. For a couple minutes so he can give his apology.
Yeah.
Because this is the way movies work.
Right.
And then they all like, okay, everybody just fight him one at a time. Okay? Can we all agree that, yeah, there are 10 of us and one of him, but we're going to take him on one at a time.
So I hate that. I hate that. I was like, I love it when... Too, I love it a lot in movies when there's all the people coming after him, the guy spinning around and hitting people.
Right.
That should happen more often. And it's also more realistic, as in everyone would be trying to go on the important guy at once.
Yeah.
It was cool. Anyways, I was going to say something about this.
Please.
Oh, yes. What I was going to say about this, I remembered, is sort of like I knew it was a woman thing, but my brain just decided to be like, nope, that's not happening. I'm going to take it as this person is innocent and not trying to fight me right now.
Oh, no, it was a woman thing.
I know it was a woman thing,
but
my
she is
brain
also,
was
she redeemed herself, and maybe he read her aura.
He
decided that he didn't want to attack her.
Like, okay.
Yeah. Because she turned out, like you were talking about her like character arc, which I think is actually really good. Yeah, it's really good. She's like, look, she has a scene later where she's like, look, if you're really doing this for me, then stop. Because I don't want you to do this. Like, this is not, I don't want anybody to get hurt or killed but for my singing career.
Right.
And then Eddie Arcadian again is like, are you out of your mind? Nobody does that to me, and lives. Right. And so it's clearly not about her. Like, he has this shtick. Look, I'm doing this for you. And he's like, okay, well, then stop. And he's like, what? No. It was really well done. And then we'll jump to that for a second because I loved that scene. And then he says, like, where are you going to go? It goes to a very cliched kind of speech about, like, hey, when I found you, you were nobody.
Yeah.
You were blah, blah, blah. And he gives this, you're going to go back to being this person you were when I found you.
But it's very effective.
And so he does this, like, oh, you're just this, like, beauty school dropout from Kew Gardens who's just getting by on her tits, right?
The song stuck in my head.
And then she has the greatest response to that. Because she's like, oh, you know what you are. You're just like a midget. I can't remember what she called him. Yeah. And then she says, also from Kew Gardens and
also getting by on my tits.
Like, that's pretty good.
Love that.
That's pretty good. Like, that makes me love Angie, right? Like
That makes me want to see more of her. What does she do? Because I wanted to...
Yeah, where did she go?
Another like cliche action.
She went back to Kew Gardens. She said that's what she was going to do.
Yeah,
that she was going back to beautician school or elocution class is where she was going.
Another cliche thing would be to cut, like, at the end of the movie in the after credit scene, you see the new pizza store and you see her, and it turns around it goes into the pizza store and she's on the screen singing. Right. Like, that's such a cliche movie thing.
Oh, that was one of my favorite things. I've got that somewhere. So when they come in and wreck the pizza place. To try and get Leroy to fight, right?
Yeah.
So they all, Show Enough and everybody bust in, and they're tearing the place apart, and all that stuff is going on. Daddy Green has one of my favorite lines. Let's see. Oh my God, I can't find it now.
Oh don't know. I know what line you're talking about. But Laura's on the screen also.
I can't remember. Where No.
Think about it.
No.
Look at this interesting part of our podcast. How many people do you think just stop?
No. 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 Okay, I'll find it later. It'll pop up. It'll pop up real quick. Maybe I didn't put it on the soundboard for some reason, but I could have sworn I put it on there. I do have another one from their Meet Cute. This is the really like. This is the. You guys down for some golf?
You guys, I gotta go find my kid.
That like ends with it. I gotta go for. It has like a weird thing that comes with it too, right?
I know what it's like to lose precious things. And then, of course, to find them again. You thirsty?
I forgot about the music in the background.
Oh, yeah. That's some Motown playing in the background, right? But yeah, just the, like, oh, here's like a real intimate kind of moment, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I know what it's like to lose precious things. And there's a little forward of her after like one meeting of them saying it, right? And then just, are you thirsty? Like, that's a super funny. Yeah, that's a super funny thing to throw in.
Yeah, I like that though.
Oh, here it is. This is what Daddy Green. This is what Daddy Green says when he breaks the jukebox.
I don't own that.
That's a super funny line, right? Like, you're trying to attack me to get to my son, but you're breaking. That's not even mine. I don't own that. Like, I love that. I thought that was a super funny thing to do.
What is the?
It was like a video jukebox kind of thing.
Yeah, and it had Laura on the screen. Whoa.
Oh, I thought it was playing Angela.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was playing one of them.
No, it was playing Angie's thing. And he's like, who put this crap on? It was Angie. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it was
totally.
Okay, whatever, yeah.
So what I didn't love was, I really didn't love the whole, like, some dumb goy little subplot thing. Like, whenever he went to the warehouse and was dealing with the three guys and stuff, I didn't.
No.
That kind of fell flat for me.
I just erased that from my brain.
Yeah. Okay, so we agree on that.
Yeah,
I totally
that was sort of weird.
Didn't really love that. And then I thought it was cool that she took him and showed him the big Bruce Lee screen stuff with the Glow song playing in the background. Yeah. And then that gave him the hint that he should do the disguise himself to get into the villain's lair.
He was like, let's go to this.
He's like, I'm going to go now, right? I mean, exactly. In Chinese Connections, another really good Bruce Lee movie. So that, like, tying those things together. And those screens that they had, like the big video screens. Yeah, that was like state of the art. Like, that was crazy. The guy
nice screens. I like them.
The guy that they hired to put that stuff together, that location together, was like a huge. I've seen an interview with him about how big a deal it was to put that stuff together.
It does kind of remind me of the screen at the
And
Owls.
somebody came through. It's like Diana Ross or somebody like that came through, like one of the Motown performers came to the set and saw it. And I think she bought it to use on her next tour. Like, after the movie wrapped up, she bought like that video system and stuff. I can't remember who it was, but somebody was either tried to buy it or bought it to use it on a tour that they went on, which I thought was super cool. Yeah.
They were cool screens. I like that.
I like that. And then the whole, like, Angie going to the dojo and warning Johnny, like the two of them together in that one scene, I thought was super great. Like, every once in a while you have a couple of really nice characters and they end up with a scene together and kind of steal the thing. I
totally thought when I was watching that scene, I'm like, this is going to be mentioned on the podcast because it's two of my favorite characters talking to each other.
Yeah, so I thought that was really good.
And it's two characters who are like, and I know that scene was just sort of in there because they knew those two characters would be really likable.
Yeah.
And they wanted them in a scene together.
Yeah.
Because their storylines don't connect.
No, not really.
They're very separate.
Yeah. It was just her, like, that's how they let Leroy know he needed to go to Seventh Heaven to try and save people, right?
Yeah.
She came to warn him. He wasn't there, so he told Johnny.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the shtick. But that was a really cute little scene.
I like this.
And then, like, he locks Johnny in the weapons locker. And then the little kid, I can't remember the little kid's name now.
I don't know if it was said.
Who's Ernie Reyes Jr. It was said. So that's Ernie Reyes Jr., who grew up to be a martial arts film action star. Like, one of the biggest people out there.
I liked that child.
And his dad, Ernie Reyes Sr., was actually one of the fight choreographers.
Really?
On this movie. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so I can't believe that was Ernie Reyes Jr. He's done a ton of stuff, and I'm a big fan of his. And I don't think I knew that was Ernie Reyes Jr.
As a child.
And so he does this really funny bit, too, where, like, Johnny's locked in the locker, and Ernie Reyes Jr. has the keys, and he's coming, and he's like, the key, like, going real slow, like he can't. And Johnny can't see him doing that. He's locked in the locker. Like, he's doing the shtick
in the dark
to make Johnny mad, but Johnny can't see that he's doing the shtick. Like, I thought that was kind of funny. I love that scene, and I remember it really clearly. It, like, stuck with me as really funny that he's, like, messing with him but he doesn't know that that's happening.
This child I like that dynamic a lot, and I did wish I saw more of it.
Right.
But, like, obviously it only really made sense in that one scene.
Yeah.
But I wish that scene was just a lot longer so you could see more of it.
All right,
It's
so
a good dynamic.
a couple of scenes and we'll get to the big fight. So
I like the big fight.
I thought when he found out it was just a belt buckle and he went back to his master, I loved him going back to his master. His master delivers like a great kung fu movie piece of dialogue.
Think, Leroy. You have just opened a fortune cookie without a fortune. Written by a master who does not exist. To find a solution to a problem whose answer you already know.
Very kung fu.
Yeah, that was like very, very
very kung fu. And I love the concept, and I have always thought about this too. I love the concept of a thing that doesn't exist that was written by somebody that doesn't exist, right? So, like, the thing doesn't exist. It wasn't written by any. But it's a really good kung fu delivery. Of the master. So, like I said, I wish he had come back. And then you get into the big fight. So whole, like, the auditioning, the rogues gallery of villains, like, this is a comic book at this point, right? You sort of get into the comic book space of, like, the guy that's, like, barking and wearing a dog collar and headbutts the table. Like, that's a comic book kind of thing. Or, hey, let's get together the roughest and toughest guys in the city to have this big battle royale.
Do you know who did something similar?
Like, they posted on Craigslist and said, hey, villains, the cops should do that and just arrest people when they show up.
Right? I think, do you know who did something similar to the dog thing?
No.
Adewale,
So I think it's super, that part was really funny and super, sloppy comic book kind of thing for them to be having this audition. And then, he shows up and they've got the video screens are doing their thing, and it's really awesome when he, his head, Eddie Arcadian's head appears and he yells at Leroy and scares him. He kind of does the sidestep.
I got scared too.
I remember him doing that, sidestep when he was scared. That's a visual that stuck with me for some reason for a long time out of the movie.
I got scared also. I
jumped.
Scary. And it's weird because I didn't know that was coming, and usually I know when jump scares are coming.
And then when Johnny and all the kids show up and come running, you hear them screaming, so cool. And then they come running in. It's very cheesy, but it was so good. It was so good. And then Johnny accidentally learns how to fight because he's doing his crazy flailing and accidentally actually hits a guy, and he's like, oh wait, I can actually hit people while I'm flailing. Wow. And then he becomes a martial arts master with the chucks and everything. As cheesy as all of that was, it's amazing.
I want to talk about the child.
Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yes, this child. I'm going to refer to him as the child because I cannot remember that name. But he was jumping around and doing stuff.
He was going crazy, and then he gets mad at that one guy and stares him down, and then the whole thing just stops again. Okay, everybody stop fighting for a second. Let's watch the kid fight Beast or Crunch or Cyclone.
The only three of them. Right. There's this one guy, and he was really confused. And then this
are you fighting me?
Yeah, and he's he jumps on him and is crazy, and then I want to call him Danny, and I don't know why.
Who, the kid?
No, his brother.
Oh, Richie.
No. Johnny, the kid's brother.
That's not the kid's brother. I don't know where you're getting that.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, I thought they were brothers the whole time.
Totally not brothers. I don't know what
they had their cool.
That's why you're confusing me. When you say brother, that's only Richie.
Really?
Yeah.
They had their cool,
friends. They're buddies.
Had their cool
they train at the same place. They do the same.
Handshake,
yeah, that doesn't make you brothers.
Yes, it does. Of course,
having a cool handshake is. I guess we're related now. We've come up with a handshake.
They had a cool handshake. I don't know. I assume they were brothers. They had a vaguely similar haircut.
Yeah, right.
And they had a handshake. So, related.
Okay. Right.
Whatever.
All right.
That's what I mean when I say the child's brother. Johnny. I want to call him Danny for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But Johnny, and then they have this dynamic duo thing, which also made me think they were brothers.
Oh, they kind of work together. And,
So I was brothers.
Yeah. No, not brothers.
I thought they were brothers.
All right, and so then you get into the show enough battle. And again, both because I'm so, the whole movie is that.
Yeah.
The whole movie just leads up to that, and then you're kind of okay, this movie's not too bad, right? And then that happens, and it's just amazing. I love that battle. And so whenever I was watching it, I couldn't grab sound clips. Because I would just get wrapped up and watch it. And there's not a lot of dialogue that's happening during that. But I did grab, this is when it first starts happening, this is where the soundtrack comes in. I think this is one of the most, perfect soundtrack entry things for me. All right, you ready?
Take life one day
Like that,
Right.
when that started, I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Cool.
This is going to be good, right? Something really cool is about to happen. And then they fight, and all kinds of things happen. And then there's show enough has the glow in his hands because some people can do it. And then you get flashbacks of people talking.
Lost
and
flashback.
Laura Charles is throwing in the
master to me.
"You look like a master to me," and then you get the final question that Cooper also loves.
All right, Leroy. Who's the one and only master?
Oh. And again, like such a great moment.
That was
Like
so
it's just like a film moment for something to happen. It was so good.
Right, yeah.
And then he sort of grabs that punch, and you get in a ton of really big things, and everybody's happy. He shows up and says, "Can you teach me some moves?" Just as the music cuts out, he yells, "Can you teach me some moves?"
That was very, very good. All right.
Roll credits.
Roll credits. Okay, here's my thought.
What's your hot take?
My hot take. Well, it's not like that hot of a take. It's just that I was going to say that the glow looks a lot like the thing from Highlander.
The quickening.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
I can
look
see that.
similar.
Yeah, there's some of that in there.
I thought the glow looked really cool.
For a 1985 movie, like I think it was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was really
it
good,
looked
and like
really
the
cool.
sparks flying when
was, like,
Shonuff was
animated.
doing it, and they got the red and the gold, kind of the lightsaber kind of thing happening, showing good guys and bad guys. But when Shonuff was hitting him and the sparks were flying from the glow and
That was
stuff,
cool. I very
really cool.
distinctly remember. I think it was shown off. He was like about to punch,
Mm-hmm.
and his hand was glowing, and there was this like lightning, electricity
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
going up his arm. I
Yeah.
very distinctly remember that, and
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah, that guy's no longer with us. I'm kind of sad.
Really?
Yeah, kidney failure. No, I don't think Vanity had kidney failure.
Oh no!
So Vanity is no longer with us. Shonuff is no longer with us. I think there's a couple of people that are no longer. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
He was that old.
Yeah. So and not necessarily old, just sick. They got sick, right? But that fight scene is one of the greatest,
It was so cool.
like, epic movie fight scenes to like put things together, and then the way the ebb and flow of the fight scene was really good. The fight choreography was really good. Well, so like those two guys, Shonuff didn't know karate when they started the movie. Like he learned everything that he did, I think, as part.
Really?
Yeah. I think he trained for the film. Obviously, Timac did. Like he couldn't learn the stuff that he does in 6 months or whatever, getting ready for a film.
Right.
The girls that were part of the gang clearly knew nothing about martial arts.
Like,
when they broke into the dojo, like the one scene with like "Kiss My Converse," and they're like talking smack, and the girl's like, "How many yen?" They obviously they didn't know any karate, and they didn't know any smack talking, because how many yen is just not a great smack talk.
Right?
But like when they were like punching in front of him and stuff, like it was terrible. Like it was like that.
why don't you just punch him?
I was like, yeah, that's not, like, their kicks were really kind of wonky looking and
yeah,
stuff.
they were like
But,
almost like look at my boots.
like
kicks.
that fight choreography was terrible. It wasn't really a fight, but like the martial arts choreography of that thing was really bad. Or the execution, I don't know, the choreography might have been fine, but the execution was really bad. But the fight at the end between
so
the two
good.
guys was so good.
It was so good.
And like the music is kind of pumping in the background, and you're really kind of rooting him on. And he really almost, like, you have this, there's this difficult thing that you have to do in film where you have to like make it feel like the hero might lose. Mm-hmm. Right? When you're in your storytelling, there has to be like risks and catastrophes, and like it really felt like he was in trouble. Right.
Right.
And like the first time I watched it, I was not expecting what happened to happen.
No.
Like I didn't feel it coming in a way that I thought I might. And so it was just such like a joyous moment almost when he says "I am" and starts glowing. It's just like, oh my God. I was like, as a kid, especially, like I was so, I need Cooper to watch the movie all the way through now, because I think he would love it.
Like, you know that the hero's going to win in a way, but it still makes
Right.
it feel like he's not going to.
Yeah, like that could have been, like something could have gone horribly wrong, and then there's another fight somewhere that he could have lost that fight. I felt like he could have lost that fight, right? And then either somebody comes and saves him, Laura Charles breaks out of her robes, or Richie does something, and like something has to intervene to save him, right?
Thought about Richie.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Dustin from Stranger Things.
He's a little Dustin Stranger Thing. I like when he was tied up and he was doing like the break dance, like get out of the ropes.
That
Like
was so
for some
cool.
reason, I
That's
totally
funny.
remember that as a scene
do.
of something that happened. Like that stuck in my head for a long time.
Like, somehow I know a child who behaves exactly like him, but I don't. Like, I feel like I know.
That means. No idea what that means.
Like, I feel like I know someone that acts.
You feel like you do. Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah, he's so familiar that it could be anybody, right?
Right?
And I thought he was a pretty good actor, too. I liked him. I thought his performance was pretty solid. Johnny, like I said, I thought he was pretty good. Angela, for who she was supposed to be, was really good. Like, she was super over the top and stuff, but I thought she was... And then when she had the moments to deliver really good lines, she did great. Because I think part of it too was that earlier in the film, when you're seeing her like her videos, which are kind of super funny and stuff, and you're seeing her acting with Eddie, you dismiss her. And then she delivers that great dialogue to Eddie. And then even in the scene with Johnny, like she has these great lines and stuff. Like, I don't know, like she set up super low expectations early in the film and then delivered these really great scenes. I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Like, I thought she would just be another, like, I was thinking in this movie she would be a damsel in distress character, but she saved herself. And
That's
right.
Like,
oh, so good. It's so cool.
And it was kind of interesting, too, in that, like, she was kind of the damsel in distress, and then she sort of extricated herself from the situation, but the fight went on without her. Even though she was kind of, in theory, in the beginning of the movie, she was part of the reason this whole thing was happening. And then when she left, it's still, I don't know, there's a lot to like about this movie, right? As cheesy as it is, and some of the acting is bad, and some of the directing is kind of wonky, but there is a lot to love about this movie. Like, I would love to hear, what people think about this as a film, especially people who didn't watch it a long time ago. Like, I have an affinity for it because I watched it when I was a kid, and I think it was the right time for me to watch it. I was probably about your age. And so, let's see. If I saw it in 85. Yeah. So I was about your age. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I loved it.
I think Cooper would really like it, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess this is an interesting thing.
I was afraid when we watched it together you weren't going to like it because you were going to think that it was cultural appropriation.
No, I think it was very respectful with what it did use.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm a little bit biased since I did practice martial arts that were not from my culture for a long time.
Yeah, but there was the difference between, like, he was living the life. Like, there was a difference between him just studying the art and him, like, really being absorbed in the philosophy and the culture and the things like that, right?
I thought it was respectful of what I was using.
I'm glad.
And because obviously I'm not an expert on this and I need someone else to tell me if I'm right about it, but it did seem, from an outsider's perspective, very respectful of what it was using. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there were people probably who were in writing this movie who were, like, scouting, making sure.
Yeah,
there were script checkers.
I thought they did a good job, and I thought he was referencing from other stuff.
And I did like that parallel that you sort of brought up for me to think about, where like there is also. Oh my god! Okay, I thought of another thought that I wrote down, and I totally forgot about it. Okay. So thoughts. First thought is that I really like the thing that I don't know if they intentionally did it, but I really hope they did, where Shonuff was sort of taking a lot of cultural stuff and making him, like, he was being the Hokage.
Yeah.
He was taking this persona on that was a little bit appropriation, but what Leroy was doing was he was respecting it, and he was learning from someone who knew it, who was okay with teaching him. Also, I'm going to say my least favorite thing about this podcast is that when we watch a movie with a main character whose name I like, I can never use it because I'm going to associate it with this podcast and that character. Yeah. And I really like the name Leroy, and now I can't use it.
Yeah, it's a good name. It's good. All right, cool. So let's, it's excellent. Tell us what you thought about it. Like, I want to know what people, hopefully you guys take the time to watch a couple of these movies. If there are movies that you haven't watched before or you haven't thought about watching, I'd love to hear what people think about this one. Because I do. I have an affinity for this movie. Like, I love it. I'm glad you enjoy it. All right, so you have an assignment for me. It's your turn.
Oh my God, I forgot about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so excited.
So what are we doing next?
All right, next you are reading Book 1 of the Warrior series by Aaron Hunter, Into the Wild.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, I'm so excited to make you read this book. Okay, so because this has shaped my life in such a weird way, this book about cats, this battle cat book has changed me very much.
Cats?
That's an inside joke. Okay. But yeah, this Battle Cat book has, like, not the book itself, but the fandom and the fact that it's so big. Like, literally one of my favorite, one of the things I spend most of my time on is a Warrior Cat.
6,000 Warrior Cat books?
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to make you read.
But it's just the first one.
the first book of the main trilogy.
Okay.
There's so many.
All right.
But yes, I'm excited to hear your thoughts about this. And if you disrespect Firestar in my good home,
no,
I
remember.
fight
Yeah,
you.
I remember you crying about Warrior Cats.
I cried a lot about Warrior Cats.
I will read the book. Yeah, folks out there who have read it, look forward to that. I've got 2 weeks to knock that book out. And so I'll put it together. I'll make some notes. And
I've already cried about this book just because I remember so much about it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
All right. We're 110, so we need to land the plane.
Children, this was a good fun movie.
Send us an email.
Send us an email.
And until then,
bear with us.